I just realized that I have a smartphone in my pocket. With it, I can send pictures to my friends, browse through the internet, or, of course, call my parents. But 10 years ago, most of people didn't think that all of these activities could be possible with your phone. But it was the small amount of population that did believe in it, the ones who actually made it a reality. It can be mentioned, even though it's a little bit cliche, that this is technology. And when people say technology, we usually think of terms such as computers or cell phones, cars. But in fact, technology is something as simple as a tool that helps us to improve or make our daily lives easier. So for me, this is technology. But for a caveman, a rock to ignite fire would be considered technology too. What all technologies have in common is that they share the very same core: science. Now, when people refer to science, they usually think of those boring stuff such as math, physics, or chemistry, and how we are in our classes, like, yes, teacher, I understand everything, and then we failed the exam. But science is much more beyond than this. Science is a way of perception, a way of wondering about the world that surrounds us. It's about asking, how do things work out as they do? It's about asking critical questions about our very existence. They can be as simple as, why is the sky blue? Or they can be deeper, as whether Schrodinger's cat is in or out the box. Is it dead? Is it alive? Indeed, science is something that we use in our daily lives. Oops. Yeah. Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Science is something that we use in our daily lives. It is about being objective on how we see things. Science is about being able to step out of our own shoes, metaphorically, in order to appreciate some circumstance, in order to get a certain results or prove something under certain conditions. What I'm trying to say with all of that is that in order to think scientifically, you just need to think of how you could do something in order that it can be proved or someone can get the same results at any time. It's like making an omelet. So, first, you need to define why you are going to make the omelet. Well, for this example, it would be because I'm hungry, I want to make an omelet. So this is going to be our objective. Second, we've got an hypothesis. This is the question that is going to drive our whole process. It is about asking, what are we going to do? So in this case, it would be like, okay, we're going to make an omelet. Third, we've got our experimentation. In this step, it's about getting the idea of what we're going to need and how we're going to make it. So for this case, we're going to need a couple eggs and cheese and ham. The beautiful thing about science is that you just don't need to get your own recipe, but you can actually use others. So in this example, I'm going to use my mom. So let's say that you just got to put in a pan a couple eggs, ham, the cheese, and then you turn on the stove for a minute or so, and you put it hot, and voila, you've got your omelet. So this is going to be our results and conclusions. The results is the omelet. We've got, by following the recipe, we're always going to get the exact same omelet. But also, let's say that I just put one egg, and I got a different result. So I can write down that as an observation in order that in the future, someone else can use that same observation without having to actually make it to happen in order to maybe make a new omelet recipe. Who knows? And that's how innovation works. So now I'm going to tell you a story. This is little me. I was as joyful as any other kid my age would be. I liked to play with my friends and with my brother, but there was just a situation. I loved Star Wars. I was just fascinated by the idea of people flying in spaceships across the galaxy, fighting epic battles with lightsabers, and using the Force. But my mom always reminded me that this wasn't real, this was a fantasy. And the only place where I knew it existed beyond the movies was in my imagination. So this world was limited to the playground and to toys. Later on, in 2008, I moved into Puerto Vallarta. And there was one event that just changed my life. The Iron Man movie was released. I was just marveled by the idea of the main character, Tony Stark, who was a billionaire, who built a super high-tech suit, and who was a superhero. Who wouldn't love that? So from that moment on, there was just one thing going on inside my mind. How could I make an Iron Man suit? Well, it wasn't easy because, you know, there were things such as school and homework, and I was a kid, I was broke. How was I supposed to make a super high-tech suit that cost billions of dollars? But with time, I just made, for example, here are some images of my cardboard suit, which didn't last for long, but it just triggered my curiosity for asking myself, how could I make this a reality? And so then I entered into middle school. There, I was introduced to these things such as algebra, physics, chemistry, and I was introduced to the very world of science. I remember going at least once a week with my teacher and asking her about all my doubts I had and about the ideas that were just popping to my mind. Until one day, and I remember her words, she said, "Luis David, you should start doing research so you could have arguments that can support your ideas." And so I started to do research. Later on, someone told me about this new material that won a Nobel Prize and that was made in England. And it was made by a provoked accident. It was called graphene, and it was a marvel material. It was super strong, it was lightweight, it could conduct electricity, and it was transparent and all sort of stuff that you could imagine. So for 2 years, I spent time working on how could I make a cheap and easy way to make this compound. But, you know, not having a lab and having other stuff to do, you might think I failed into getting this material. But in science, there is not actually a failure. As Thomas Edison described, you just find other ways of how not to do it. So in this case, you can end up with something new or something better in those failures. And that was the case of this. This is a polymer I'm working on right now. It seems to be strong, lightweight, but cheap and easy to make. In fact, it could be key on how to recycle polystyrene, because polystyrene lasts for about 500 years to degrade by nature. But with this process, it could last for about 5 seconds or so. Also, it could have tons of industrial purposes, such as being cast into molds to make auto parts, or even to be mixed with fabric. Who knows? So it all came with an idea. the idea of trying to make something for humanity, something that could help others. Because when I was growing up, I just wondered about whether science was limited to a lab or just to grown-ups. But actually, you can make something by being a student. This is the case. I'm working on it right now, and I'm competing in the National Science Fair. It just came with a small idea. So if I want you to stay with something, is that there's not such thing as a bad idea. It just takes for you to think, okay, how can I improve something? Maybe by changing a piece, or maybe by giving it a different form. I don't know. But you could be the winner of the following Nobel Prize, or you could be the one who makes a very, very great impact on the world tomorrow. So remember that the world is in need of people who actually are willing to step up and make their ideas come true, to make them see that they are a reality. Because fresh and new ideas are the ones that are actually changing the world. Thank you.